So as we have a great panel here, I was thinking we could all start with a brief introduction to ourselves. Introduce yourself, what you do in the space. I guess I'll go first. My name is Nick. I'm part of the KBT organization, and we produce scalably centralized asset security. That's essentially it. So I'll move on to the next one.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Marius. At my basics, I'm a software engineer with more than 11 years on the embedded side and security full stack on different embedded areas. Transformed into entrepreneur working in Web3. I have a company named X Audits for smart contract audits, BHero Launchpad, and other similar products.
Hello guys, I'm LoganVoice. I'm working for the Nothing Square project. I'm a developer on the ETH blockchain, and we are preparing right now an NFT project, a hybrid one, and yeah, that's it. Happy to be with you today.
Hello, I'm Luca. I'm Clean Unicorn on Twitter, GitHub, whatever. I'm in this space since 2017 as a developer, as an entrepreneur, and mostly as a security researcher. I also created a stablecoin at one point, but now I work with EdenBlock, which is a crypto VC.
Hi, my name is Felix. I think I can call myself a glorified programmer. Meaning that I do some programming, but my official title has nothing to do with programming. And I do a lot of things around payments and also around crypto for a long time.
Marvelous. So to start off with a generic question, what are your views on the current state of security in the space?
All right, so basically, if we consider that the blockchain systems and the network itself is by its nature decentralized and secured, any smart contract that is being deployed can offer any vulnerabilities over time if it's not well audited, and also any other third-party integrations and wallets, exchanges, and maybe layer 2s that overlayers the blockchain to make it more scalable can offer vulnerabilities if it's not well secured. And yeah.
I would start a step earlier, and I would define security. You know, there are at least two types of security that we need to concern with in blockchain. One is the on-chain security, then the other one is the off-chain security. And the off-chain security has two forms. One is physical security, and the other one is like digital security. So if you want, there are at least these three aspects. And when I'm talking about physical security, it's like, you know, it's not enough to have let's say a ledger or a Trezor, because that doesn't protect you from the famous $5 wrench attack. And further on, it's not enough to have a ledger. If you plug it in and open whatever malicious website which asks you to sign a message. And then when you talk about on-chain security, there are things which concern like the protocol itself. So how safe are the elliptic curves? How do we protect from quantum cryptography? And then it's the last piece, which is probably the most important, which is how safe is this contract that I'm interacting with? How safe is this protocol that was invented by some guys from IOTA and you know, that there are very, very nice stories which can span all these segments.
Yeah, for the ones which have enough experience into security, they know for sure there is no perfect security. It's always the same question, how much money you have or resources in order to break anything you want. When I was working in a corporation, I was leading the software team that was integrating the secure element into the ledger. And I was traveling to Germany in that time, and we used to have a very good laboratory into security in Germany. A lot of millions was put in research. And even the secure element from the ledger inside can be broken using enough skills and resources in order to reverse engineering that piece. So again, is always this chicken egg problem, how many resources you have in order to break something. Security for sure is very, very hard. Is not perfect, but still with all this kind of security technical measures, social engineering is the number one problem around education and security.
Okay, marvelous. Okay, I'll go into the next one. So for all of you, how important do you believe security is for the crypto space? And then in general, with the current state of security, do you think it's had a positive or negative effect thus far?
I could start this one. Security is, of course, extremely important because the assets are digital. And since they're digital, it's much easier to take someone's assets even if they're not in your physical vicinity. And this does stop people from getting in and starting to use the blockchain. Because every time, like, things are kind of changing right now, but a few years ago I was like, okay, you're gonna create this wallet and you're gonna generate these 12 words and make sure that you don't lose them and don't give them to anyone. And there's it's a huge amount of responsibility that one person has to bear. And most people don't want that. Most people want the recover my password, do something. So security is extremely important, but it's not something like doing this mnemonic thing. We can kind of get around it with account abstraction or other innovations, but it's not something we can completely ignore. And if we hide that within a secure system, yeah, security is still very important, but it's easier for people to start. And it's not only for the people who want to start, it's also for the people who are here for a long time, because you have to create wallets from time to time.
I want to complete that and tell in order to properly understand security in this kind of distributed system, you need first to unlearn everything you know about security from the traditional, what we have been grown up with and what we have been taught by all the banks and all the services that we use day to day. First, we need to unlearn everything, and then to start to actually, care about how do we store our seed phrases? What does it mean to sign this message? What does it mean to sign this message on this blockchain? Because not all blockchains are created equal from this point of view, and some of them, by doing an apparently harmless operation, you are actually exposing possibly your whole wealth. And basically, the bottom line is that everything related to crypto needs first to start from unlearning what you knew about the system that you're trying to replicate, and then start with a blank slate. It's the same when it comes to security as it is about money, because everything that it's money related to crypto requires you to first unlearn everything you knew about money and how they are created and how they are transmitted, and then it will be much easier to understand how the system actually works.
Yep, I will continue to say that this is the reason the adoption is so slow in this space, because the users are always scared about their funds, and this is also a reason why they are maybe interested to recover their password or their seed phrase, and they are scared to hold that secretly without keeping it publicly. And from my perspective, it's crucial. The security is crucial in these systems because it's the base of trust and reliability over time for any user that uses these networks. So even if you offer a small service or you have a big scalable exchange, for example, you need to be fully secured to have a community over it. And that's it.
Yeah, I will summary your question using a very popular phrase, with great powers is coming great responsibilities. We want to have decentralization, but of course you need to learn something about it, and you need to learn something about security. The main problem with blockchain is not only securing your funds using, I don't know, Ledger or different very smart wallets. I saw there are some class of problems into the design of the protocols. You for sure heard about run and execute for different EVM smart contracts. So you give your rights of your own wallet to a smart contract in order to run on your name different smart contract calls. This is a very big problem by design into these protocols. So it's not only securing your funds, but securing your actions as an owner of your wallet. This is more problematic, and hopefully the next generation of layers and protocols will resolve this by design.
So I want to extrapolate on what you mentioned in terms of unlearning security. That's a very difficult thing to do because we all have this predisposed knowledge of what security should be from Web 2. What do you think is the best approach to actually, let's say, unlearning what we already know about Web 2, migrating into Web 3 for users?
I think that the first thing which was already mentioned is to understand that everything is irreversible. And once you start from this premise, then you will be more careful, or maybe you'll try to understand more. And this is only until I'm sure that there will be better technologies that will somehow make use of the self, because traditionally, or these days, security means having some sort of two-factor authentication. And usually, or initially, the first factor was something which is usually a password. Then it comes the second factor in the form of something you have, which is usually a SIM card or a phone. And now it moves more and more to something you are. And I think that the moment there will be a universal kind of way in which to encode oneself in a digital form, then security will probably be the safest or the best that we could have. It's also a sort of a scary thing if you think about this, but who says that in the future I don't have to spit on a sensor or something to prove that my DNA is which
scan your eyeball.
Scan your eyeball. Yeah, but usually the scanning happens on an edge device, while if you have a string of DNA, you can use that string to be your private key or something. So it's harder to fake.
Yeah, DNA would be very interesting. I was actually thinking about that while we were suggesting it. I think maybe Apple is going in a pretty good direction with, you're scanning, or even like other phones, maybe your fingerprint is kind of you start to become the key with your fingerprint, with your eyes, with your face, with something that identifies you. And you have to be very careful about that, because if it's just purely DNA, and I'm not suggesting you were doing that, you can just cut someone's arm off and have DNA for a lifetime. So the liveness, Apple does this very interesting thing, like you have to look at the camera, you have to smile. I think they also try to figure out if you're in anguish or if you're in pain. So it's not easy to do. It does help a lot, but it's not easy to do.
Marvelous. Do you think Web3 security is evolving at the rate that it should be? And if so, why isn't it?
Yeah, for sure it's evolving. At least from my experience, we have at least two-factor authentication at Multiverse 6, for example. We have two-factor authentication at protocol level. Unique, you made two new classes of two-factor authentication directly to Ethereum side and Polygon to EVM side. So for sure it's evolving. A lot of new wallets with AI incorporation, with traceability and so on. But again, in my opinion, at least I'm a bit conservative, the best security is the old one. Raw passwords, very long passwords, anything very, very simple. If we complicate things, for sure a new class of paradigms and problems can appear. and we need more and more education, more and more resources. From my previous experience in different companies, when new technology appears, you need to bring a lot of people, extremely experienced, to educate people. So again, it's a chicken and problem. We want new protocols. We need more resources to educate the people.
I have something to add to that. Like, you can make a very, very secure system, but if it's too complicated to use, people will find ways around it, and they will not use the protocol as it should be. Like, previously, we were making fun of people who had passwords written on a post-it. Now we have passwords in a password manager. Like, it's like all of my passwords are in one single spot. It's arguably good or bad, but I could create the most secure system, but like, okay, I have to fly you over so we can both turn a key at the same time. We use the DNA, we use all of that. But if I have to use that daily, if I have to use that often, we're going to find another way to do it. And it's going to be less secure than it was before.
All right. I would say that having very complicated systems, as you mentioned, also has to be fully transparent for the users to see. And being complicated involves that the user will always want to keep their privacy, and that comes with a slow adoption again, because for a regular user or for a new individual that comes into this space, it's very complicated to understand these security measures that we take to offer him the protection of their funds.
I will go back exactly to your question and try to answer whether it has evolved enough. And I'm just referring you to the fact that from the start of the internet, let's say roughly 40 years ago, until we actually had like safe internet, there was a span of 30 years or thereabout. Now we are only 10 years into this thinking about Web3 and the different security model of Web3. So I think we will get there, and I'm absolutely sure that there will be things which none of us can think about right now. Is the unknown unknowns that will spring into action and provide maybe unbeatable security, but I didn't say about unlearning just as a buzzword. I think that this, let's call it skeuomorphism, whereby we see a process or we see something and then we try to replicate it in a different environment. This is this bias that we have towards processes that we are very fond of and very comfortable with, familiar with. This is something that once you change the environment, it has more drawbacks than advantages.
Yeah, one more thing from my side. So, as software architects, we learned that the best secure systems are the ones with security in mind from the beginning, which was designed with security as a mindset from the beginning. Maybe this is the problem. Most of the protocols we have right now weren't designed with security in mind from the beginning. We just inherit some elliptic curves, RSA, and this kind of encryption algorithms, and copy-pasted, and that's all. We didn't have system security designs in the protocol from the beginning. So yeah, maybe for sure the new protocols will have this, and yeah, we need to redesign everything as a whole secure designs.
Yeah, evolving as a whole. So now with NFTs, specifically as we are at NFT Bucharest, do you think they're more susceptible to attacks based on how assets are traded, how deals go down, how swaps happen on social networking platforms such as Discord or Telegram, etc.?
I think that with NFTs, especially with, let's call them, maybe not all of them, but at least some chains that use the concept of NFT as an entity composed of two different things. One is on-chain and the other one is something which can be on a different chain, can be on IPFS, can be on a centralized. In that particular case, there is an additional security aspect which should be taken into consideration. And I want to go back a bit to this like very low level protocol aspect of finality. Because if we think about security in terms of there is no, usually we see transactions on chain. These transactions have, let's say an economic meaning that somebody paid for something or somebody transferred this NFT or sent this value transfer as a result of something that possibly happened on a different chain. And the moment we are in a chain that doesn't offer finality, and I'm referring here mostly to Bitcoin and to all these ordinals and BRC20 and whatnot. In there is a different like level of security strictly related to, maybe not strictly, related to anything that can happen in one of these blockchains, where, at least in a theoretical point of view, you're never secure. Even though your keys are, you burn the keys or you're never secure.
And also, there are the smart contracts that the NFTs are ruled by, and it's much way complicated on each blockchain that the smart contracts for the NFT collections, due to their higher value than a token and being fungible one, it depends on the liquidity, but it's way complicated to audit a smart contract for the NFTs collection compared to a token. So it's way too complicated to offer a 100% secured system there.
I'm not so sure about that. I mean, token smart contracts are not super complicated. I've audited like systems that have tens of contracts, and usually if you audit a token smart contract, you just have maybe a couple of contracts if you're also doing staking or something like that. But you have it's not a lot of complexity. I'm kind of trying to understand why you think they're very complicated.
From a technical perspective, if you want to write an NFT collection right now, for example on the ETH blockchain, and you want to inherit some libraries, some contracts made by other individuals, by third parties, it's very complicated to make sure and to audit all their libraries in the same time. You're writing your own rules in your own contract, right?
Right, okay. But I mean, we already trust OpenZeppelin quite a lot, and they offer a good number of primitives that work really well, and they're audited, and they stood the test of time.
That's right, and I agree with you, but there was many attacks made, especially in the libraries that the user are using in the contract, than in their own code. So this is the reason I was mentioning it.
Okay, maybe like Third Web, right? Because Third Web has had this problem.
Yes.
Okay, I see. On top of that, like you have smart contracts that govern NFTs, but then you have no smart contracts that govern ordinals. So when you buy an ordinal, you just send Bitcoin to someone and you hope they're going to give you the ordinal back. There is no atomic transaction there. So yeah, in that case, you have to have trust in the network, yeah, because your transaction has to go through. You have to consider finality, and then the other person has to be a good actor, which is like kind of scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are right, Daniel. Tokens and NFTs not very complicated, for sure. What is complicated for real is the state machine of a smart contract. We all know, for example, the brain tracy problem on the EVM side. So we made a lot of smart contract audits. You can have, for example, for one NFT is the smart contract minter, another smart contract is the staking one. If you have brain tracy problem in the first one, you are broken for sure. So the state machine is really, really complicated, not the tokens or the NFTs. One small parenthesis, beside what Felix said about the finality, we can discuss related to your question, Nick, about the atomic composability. So finality is one aspect extremely important, And the atomic composability, in my opinion at least, is extremely important as well. What means atomic composability? You have a chain of transactions. Atomic composability means that if all those transactions are not correctly finalized, you can reverse all the space altogether. When we have at least third-party components, cross-chain transactions or cross-route transactions, atomic composability is basically impossible to be achieved.
Marvelous. Just paying attention to the time, I'll kind of wrap up the last two questions and combine them. If you were to give, let's say, a sentence or a statement, what somebody can proactively do in regards to security and their assets, what would that be for you personally, or what suggestion would you make?
I have a very short answer, self-custody. As long as, I mean, that's the biggest problem in the crypto world right now. The fact that everybody trusts exchanges or I don't know what kind of services. In relationship with the NFTs are maybe one of the good behaving actors, meaning that usually people that mint NFTs and whatnot usually receive them in their own wallet. It's just that sometimes these wallets are hosted wallets. So as long as people try to self-custody, even better if they use like hardware wallets, then that's the best thing that anyone can do.
I wanted to say that I would recommend to anyone to use, even in the Web2 or Web3, the multi-factor authentication everywhere to keep their seed phrases and private keys for themselves, and don't trust anyone with and by using them. And also, some people start to adopt these days the hardware security modules that offers you very good way to keep your funds and your wealth secured, and the reason that you are the only one who can use them at a time.
What we like to do is, if you know that you're going to work with lots of funds, it's good to have a separate machine just for that. You start using it, you don't use it for anything else, you don't install anything else. If you can add, you should add a hardware wallet on top, but then you're sure that that's not your gaming machine, your work machine, nothing else, just for transactions.
Yeah, as a conclusion from my side, Ledger is the Saint Grail of security right now. Hardware security for sure is extremely important. But as I said, not only the funds are important, you need to understand the rest of the problems. So the main issue, at least for EVM right now, is the allowance problem. Perform and execute calls are really the Trojan calls for any beginner user. So when you click, I don't know, you receive an NFT, you allow a smart contract you give ownership to calls on your name, different actions for your funds. It's really, really critical, and you should reject the allowance after, I don't know, specific time. You should really learn about allowance for any smart contract calls you are playing with.
You can help that a little bit if you have like a hot wallet. So
for
you
sure,
send only that asset and you only allow for that wallet. It kind of helps. It doesn't solve all problems though.
Totally agree, but this is only a workaround. Most of the beginning users are using only one wallet. This is the reality.
Yeah, from my end, I think the most important part is just stay educated. Stay up to date, because at the end of the day, these malicious actors and attackers, they're evolving each and every day because they're in competition with one another. And whoever has the better system to steal your funds, is going to get those funds. So I would say education, I think, is key, and staying up to date.
Can I ask questions?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah. So before first of all, thank all of you. I'm always learning from all of you constantly. Thank you for being on stage. And as a noob when it comes to tech and dev, although I'm a crypto user for the last 4 or 5 years, I still consider myself a noob in front of you guys. Please build the next projects and protocols and whatever you're going to build in Web3 as users, not as dev or techie guys. Take the least experienced people in your family or group and see how she or we or he would be incentivized to use Web3 products. Because right now I think that even myself, for example, the hot wallet, when you just mentioned this, if you replay this video to regular folk, to normies, how we like to call them, I think they're going to think about the hot girls.
It's already wrong that we think like that. It's like having a set of different keys to enter on your home.
Build the next products or build the next, like you said, the unknown, Felix, like the unknown that are maybe the next companies that we don't even know, they're not even there. They should build the products as seamless as they should be to introduce this to the masses, because right now it's a very big wall between us and people who have no experience. And this comes the next question, which is related to the idea.
I hope this is actually a question.
Yeah, this is really the question. Why do you think that the BTC ETF people, or people use BTC ETF issuers in order to store their funds? I mean, there are so wealthy people right now who actually chose the way to not buy Bitcoin and store them for themselves and give the custody to other people because they don't want that hassle.
It's a bit more complicated because when you're such a big, huge player, you have other people who hold the assets for you, and they also insure the assets for you.
As a matter of fact, if you look at all the 11 issuers, you'll see that 10 of them work with Coinbase custody. So that's a centralization problem in the end.
Yeah, in my opinion, George, Daniel is right, but in my opinion, it's also a legal compliance problem. So the real big players, they prefer to have transparency, full custody, full ownership, in the name of others, of course, which really have trust in the market. So, for example, you want to pay your taxes, right? You are going to Binance. Okay, Binance is big right now, but let's say I don't know, BitGet, KuCoin, another big ones, which we don't have full track history for, I don't know, 10 years from now. You have a real big problem. How you demonstrate your funds, how you put money, fiat, and so on. BlackRock doesn't have these problems.
From a legal point of view, you're right, but what I mentioned is that I have a friend in the United States, he's like a multi-millionaire, and he just said, like, I'm going to buy $10 million of the Bitcoin ETF or something like this gradually, instead of holding my own Bitcoin. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You're bragging now that you have millionaire friends. No, it's true from the problem that you mentioned, from the end user's point of view. They want exposure to the asset, and they don't want to bother with the, and that's an easy exit route, and I support that route in the hope that way down the line they will actually figure it out. Oh, okay, now I have to hold it myself, because at some point maybe the US government will say, you know, these ETFs, now you owe me 10% of whatever you gained on top of what you already paid as taxes.
I totally agree with you, Felix, and I tell my non-millionaire friends that if they want to buy crypto, but they're not going to be using that crypto on chain, they can just buy on Revolut. And you get exposure to the asset, and it's easy in and out. It's not a great spread, but it's good enough for them.
Yeah, please.
I'm wondering, what's your take on account abstraction as services? I'm talking about things like Private.io, where you integrate with them and the user can sign up with an email and stuff like that. It's really easy, a really good UX, right? Good security model, probably, I hope. But it's also putting a paywall between you and your pool of users, right? So it's this kind of central entity which controls your access to your own users. What do you feel about that as dealers?
I will give you my, account abstraction, it's a good idea, but my question is, why wasn't it thought, it should have been a feature from the beginning. Now it's only patches, and as we all know, all these patches which have impact on consensus, which have impact on protocol, are actually inducing more security problems down the line. So I would have liked to see this problem solved at the very beginning, and as it happens, there are blockchains that solve this problem from the start. So maybe instead of looking what account abstraction on EVM is, look for another chain that already has this natively and then go there.
I like the account abstraction idea. I know Privy and I know Biconomy, and they work very well together. Like Privy can host your wallet and Biconomy can do the execution. And then you as a user don't even know that you're using Web3. And then when you're ready, you can start extracting your mnemonic and then become your own asset manager. I think it's a good onboarding scheme. I think this will work in the future. I was a very, very big fan of EIP 3074, which kind of extends externally owned addresses to like allows contracts to run transactions for them. So if I have like a normal wallet, it's not an account abstraction, it's not private, it's not a smart wallet. You can find a way to extend that so others can run my transactions for me. Unfortunately, that EIP kind of fell through, but they're working on a very new one, 7702. The same guys, same people, very smart people. And yeah, it wasn't done from the beginning, but it might be a good patch.
Yeah. For the real secured ones, it's like trusting a password manager. Why we trust password managers? It's mostly the same. If we really trust the technical solution and how they was designed.
Yeah, my main take against it is that you're putting your users behind it. Like you know, you don't have access to your users anymore directly, and your users don't have access to you directly anymore. That's all behind the paywall made by Crisan or whatever. Which, if you go over 200 monthly active users or something like that, then you have to pay their subscription and blah blah blah. So it's not like this open protocol. It's a closed source for profit kind of thing.
This is what Felix was saying. It's not there from the beginning, so now we have to deal with it in different ways.
You know, in the end, if you think what was the reason all this crypto and Bitcoin was started, is to not have so many intermediaries. And now what we do, we go back and introduce a new intermediary into place to solve some of the problems with.
Right.
It's not the.
You should write another protocol, which is the Camilo ostrich, like we say in Romania.
Yes.
Alrighty, I think that wraps us up. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you
you.
for the wonderful speakers.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.